Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to rig a pair of pants, and to show you the pitfalls, what to look out for, what to do, things you can do, things you can't do, as far as there's certain things about rigging that there's just you can't help, you can't fix it, and so so I made a pair of pants to fit Jake. And here's Jake. And they're pretty tight. They're pretty tight pair of pants, which makes it more difficult to rig because you're going to end up with more poke through and stuff. So, okay, so here's my pair of pants. First thing you want to make sure is, okay, let's see. You'll notice that I have dashed lines and solid lines. The solid lines are hard edges, the dashed are soft edges. If you By default, Maya doesn't have that setting set, so I'll show you where that setting is, because it does come in handy. So if you go to Preferences, you go down here to Polygons, and you turn on Soft, and you click OK. Now, if your mesh was all solid lines to start with, even if the lines are soft edges, you might have to re-soften the edges just to be able to see it. If they were already in the scene to start with. But it's a lot easier because you can see problems. Like, here's a problem. Okay, see this line? It looks thicker than, say, this line right here. If you go underneath, or if you look underneath here, you see the line is one thickness, then it gets thicker. What that indicates is those are two edges that are not connected. It means that the vertices on either side of these were not connected. And so we have a problem here. Before you do any rigging, you want to go through your mesh and make sure you don't have any vertices that are not connected correctly. Okay, so I'm going to hide the avatar just so it's a lot easier to see. And the other thing I'm going to do is, let's make this 100 times bigger. Let's see, here are the original pants that I made in Marvelous Designer, and then I retopologized them using Quad Remesher. So let me hide that. We don't need to see that. 0 is off, 1 is on, or you can type in the word on and off. Okay, so these are not rigged, so I'm going to make them 100 times bigger just so it's easier to see what we're doing. It's easier to get in there with the camera. Okay, let's go over to see. Up on the keyboard, so see, it's not connected. And here we have one where it's not connected. There's not a loop for it to connect to. So what we can do is I'm going to hold down the V key, I'm going to snap it to there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. Hold down the V key, snap it to there. Snap, snap, snap. To it. There you go. Snap it to there. Come on. There we go. Snap it to there. Snap. Okay, so they're there. So that when I go to Object, Edit Mesh, Merge, and now I gotta change this to, because it 0.001. Okay. Now if we look, you can see the line is a solid line and it's all one thickness. So that tells me that these were indeed merged. If I go to Vertex, turn off camera base selection, See, that says 1. It's kind of hard to read. 1, that means I have 1 vertex selected. Okay. Oh, and these are, this over here is really nice to have, and this over here is really nice to have. If you want to turn them on, it's under display, heads up display, object detail is this one. And poly count is this one. This tells me how many I have selected. This tells me, I guess, how much is in the mesh. So it tells me that this mesh is made up of 2,770 vertices. And it also gives you the triangle count. If it's triangulated, it'd be 5,389. Okay, so that's number 1. Make sure you've gone through it and it looks like it's nice and solid. We don't have any, let me turn this off. If I go default shading, default material, it's a little easier to see. We don't have any, oh, let's see down here. We do have some down here. There is one that was missed. Okay, move it, hold down the V key, snap it to there, hit F on the keyboard, whoops, hit Q to go into the select mode instead of the move mode. See, it says I have 2, and then edit, merge. See? And do we have one over here? Nope, that looks fine. So you're just kind of checking your mesh, making sure you don't have any vertices that look messed up. And it looks like we're fine now. It's always a good idea to delete history as you go along. Okay, so now that our mesh is good, I'm going to scale it back down. And that's the body. Jake. Body. Okay. Now that it's scaled down and we've deleted the history, it's ready to be rigged. Okay, but before we do that, I want to show you something. Okay. See, this doesn't have enough, it's a little blocky, doesn't have enough geometry in here. So I'm going to insert an edge loop. Insert edge loop tool, and I'm going to open up the options. Now, by default, I believe insert edge loop is turned off. You want to turn it on, and you want to set it to 0.8. Because what that will do is watch. If you watch this edge right here, if I insert an edge loop, about halfway, it smooths it out, makes it nice and round. If you don't have that turned on, it just inserts an edge loop, but it doesn't smooth it out. Now, don't worry if you've already done that and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to do that. There is a tool. Where is it? Is it under edit edge flow? Okay. Open up the options. Change it from 1 to 0.8. You select your edge. So say I didn't have the edge selected. I could double click on the edge or select the edge and hit apply. And that does the same exact thing. So don't worry if you forgot to do that. And this is a little bit big, so I'm going to insert an edge flow right there too. So insert edge loop tool. Okay, so here's the insert edge loop tool. insert with edge flow, put that on 0.8. And once you use it once, as long as Maya doesn't crash, it will save that setting. See? So now it's smoother. Okay, if you think you're going to put a button in later, you know, like most pants have a button right that goes right here, it'd be okay to put an edge there. You know. And I'd probably put an edge here as well. Because you want enough geometry so that when somebody makes their butt bigger or smaller, it will move, it will deform smoothly. Okay. Now I could have slid up this edge up to here, but then that'd be kind of a big gap here. But it's up to you. That's not too bad. Okay, so you could either, I could either have slid this edge flow higher, so that it was up here where I thought the center of the button was going to be, you know, a slide edge. Where is it? Here's the slide edge tool. Double click on it, and then, whoops, and then middle mouse button, left and right, to slide it. I could have done that if I didn't want to add the extra geometry. But that looks okay. Okay. Alrighty. And of course, I'd go into object mode and I would delete the history. Okay, so now we're ready to rig. Okay. Now the safest way to select all the bones, so I'm not sure, because each individual dev kit might have, well, it should, you could either do it the old-fashioned way, select end pelvis, select hierarchy, or you could go Maya star. I'm going to rip this off here. Go Maya star, all bones select. If I can find it. All bones select. Shift select your mesh there, or select it in the outliner there by holding down the control key. And do smooth bind skin. Okay. Then what you can do is, get that out of the way. Okay, I'm going to select the legs, and I'm going to rotate them. Like 60 degrees. Okay, so they're both 60 degrees. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the vertices. I'm going to hide the skeleton so I don't actually accidentally select the skeleton. And I'm going to select the vertices in this area and this area all the way through, and that's okay. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just trying to make sure that these are evenly spaced. Okay, I'm going to need these. I'm going to use the BR Smooth Weights. I have a button for BR Smooth Weights. BR Smooth Weights is under rigging for you, it's under skin for me. I mean, depending on how new your version of Maya. You go down to skin, there will be BR Smooth Weights, and you open up your options for the paint weights. This is the strength, and you would have a smooth button or flood button, and you'd flood it. Mine gives me an error for some reason. So, but it doesn't give me an error. I made a button up here that does the exact same thing. So I don't know why, but you see it smooths it. Okay, so I'm going to smooth that. And now I'm going, oops. Okay, so it smoothed it. So now I'm going to copy the skin weights. Copy the skin weights, put it back in the bind pose. Go to bind pose. Oops. What did I click on? Go to bind pose. Okay, I went back to bind pose. And it's looking pretty good. But you really want to copy the weights when it's in the bind pose. Although I'm going to try to keep the weights I'm going to keep the weights right in the crotch area. So I'm going to do that. Let me hide the avatar. Vertex. Except for the area in the crotch. Sorry, I want to hold down the control. Oh, did I accidentally? I lost that. Okay. Select the body, and then put your mouse over the vertex and get just the vertex. Hide the body. I'm going to Control Shift, select it all, and then just Control deselect the area that I don't want to recopy the weights over. So it'd be about like there. And now I'm going to copy the weights over again. You don't have to have it visible. There we go. Okay. So we got our basic weights copied over. I do that smooth thing to try to get the in between the legs as smooth as possible, weight-wise. You know, it's always good to go into body fat and make the body really fat, because it will show you up where you have problem areas that you have to work on. I think we have a little bit of a problem right here, but not too bad. And it should be pretty close to the same on the other side. So we have a little bit of problem area there. Let's put it back to here. Okay. So, what about this area right here? This is a very common area to have problems with. Okay. And I put him back to body fat 0. Okay, this is a very, very common area to have a problem in. So there's a couple ways you can deal with this. You can, let me close that out. You can come in here with insert edge loop with your insert edge loop tool while it's rigged, and you can kind of look at about there and add a little bit of geometry, and you can see that fixes that little bit. We have a little bit of poke through here. We could add a little bit of geometry there. This is why I say you should always retopologize your mesh so that you can add edge loops that easy and it still be nice and smooth. And it is rigged. Okay. Some things, no matter how much you add, it may not be worth it to put that edge loop in there, just to get that little tiny bit. See, and there it didn't even help at all. Okay, so I Control Z. Okay, so that's one possibility, is you add edge loops in where you see poke through. And that will help. Even when it's rigged, you can do that. And another thing you can do is, let's get that out of the way, is you can go to mesh, sculpt geometry tool. Go to options. Here it's pulling on the normal. Now this is where having a Wacom pen tablet is really, really, really good. Now you see this is huge. I mean, the brush is way too big. So this is the time when working on a larger avatar makes things a lot easier. So let's go to meter scale. Okay, so here we are at meter scale. Do the same thing, frame 26. Select the object that we want. Might be good to switch the Jake body to reference, so that way you can't accidentally select the body. See, I can't click on the body at all. Especially when you're using the sculpt geometry tool. You might accidentally sculpt the mesh body by mistake. Okay, so when you're using the sculpt geometry tool, you have the options open. I have it on normal. This is where the Wacom pen tablets, or Wacom, W-A-C-O-M. You can get them used off eBay for like $10, $15. You just need to have a pen. They do come with mice. The mice are great. They don't need batteries or anything, but they're cordless. The mice, they just work straight on top of the tablet. But the pen is really what you want. And so this brush is too big, so I'm going to hold down the B key, and then I can just drag to the left to make it smaller. And you can see the arrow. See that gray arrow? That shows you the point that it's going to pull, the direction that it's going to pull on. So if I wanted to pull this up a little bit, I could. And this is where a feather light touch really helps, instead of a mouse trying to click on it. So you can try to fix things that way if you have just a little bit of poke through. Whoops. Now that's reshaping the mesh. So you may not like the results because it will be in a different place when you put it back into mode. But as you see, it only goes so far. And believe me, to get it all the way out I'll show you. Whoops. X-ray. Get it all the way out. You really kind of have to. It may move it farther than where you like it to be. So let's go back to. See, it is moving. It does move the vertices from their original location. So you may not like that. It is good for a little poke through and you can do a little bit, but see, now you have this kind of thing going on. You know, could have maybe added another edge loop right in there. Maybe another one right in there. So I'm going to Control Z back. So that's where you can see, I just Control Z back. So adding edge loops will only help you so much, you know, adding extra geometry. It's only going to help so much. And honestly, this is going to be covered with an alpha anyway. You either have to make mesh that is not quite so tight, or you have to just accept it, make it nice and smooth where it looks nice, and then people just use an alpha to alpha this out. Honestly, this would be just fine, and they would just use an alpha, wear an alpha. Like I said, we could put an edge loop in here. Let's try. Insert edge loop tool. See, so an edge loop tool, you click and you hold, and then you let go. There is a setting where you can have it set to where it's equal distance from edge. If you really wanted to, whoops, wrong way. Well, that's interesting. Oh, I think because I had relative from the edge. Anyway, there is one, I can't remember what the setting is. There is a setting where you can have it to where it goes right in the middle. Okay, so we added edge flows. It helped a little bit, but not a lot. If you wanted to adjust the weights, you can use Max Skin Weights tool. So if we go to Object Mode. Now the thing about Max Skin Weights tool though is, vertex. Let me switch back to the mouse. There we go. Okay. See, this one shows you weights, what the weights are. That was an edge that we added. It's not showing you the weights because we added the edge. Even though there are weights on there, that was an original one. That one doesn't have any. That one does. That one doesn't have any. Okay, so how do you deal with that? It's really easy. Really, really easy. Just go back to bind pose. Select your mesh pants. And you're going to duplicate them. So you hit Control D or go Edit, Duplicate. And because we already had the pants on a layer, it's automatically added that layer. So we're going to hold down the right mouse button. We're going to remove selected objects. We're going to create a new layer. We'll call these pants 2. Or, well, it says, we'll call it pants 1, because that says pants 1. Or exists, pants 1 underscore layer. Because you can't have 2 objects with the same name in it. With this, using the same name. Okay, so now we can hide the original. Oh, not the original. Oh, we didn't have a layer for it. I thought. I'm sorry. We didn't have a layer. I was thinking we had a layer. These are the original ones that are rigged. Let's put them on their own layer, and then let's lower that layer. Oh, wrong layer. I had the wrong layer set. Okay, this is. Okay, double click on it. Call this original pants. Original pants. Okay, so those are the original pants. These are the duplicates. It's not rigged, even though it looks like it with this here. It's not rigged. Okay, so what we have to do is we'll open up our outliner. Okay, so you can go Maya star all bones select. That selects all the bones in the skeleton. You can see there's 83 bones. So that tells you how many you have selected of objects. So we have 83 bones, and we're going to control click on the duplicate pants. We're going to do a quick smooth bind. Bind skin, and then we're going to copy the weights. And it doesn't matter if the original pants are visible or not. Oh, that's voice control. Copy skin weights. Okay, so now these pants are rigged. Okay, so now that these pants are rigged, we can open up our max skin weights, and we can go to vertex, and like say this one right here. Oh, no, they're not showing it. Let me try to reopen up max skin weight. Sometimes max skin weight you have to open. There we go. Okay, now they're all showing. Okay. So, like this one here needs to come up farther. So it's probably the right upper leg. And so we're going to increase the influence of that a little bit. That was too much. So to control Z, because this has focus, you have to have this have focus again. So instead of clicking in here and losing what I had selected, I just click over here in the empty area. Now I can control Z. If you don't want it to move up quite so much, you do the scale instead of the set weight. And it still jumped up pretty big. Let's try increasing, well, let's do this to 0.5. It seems like it's still going to jump up. Let's do 0.01. Okay, so it looks like it's going to jump up that far. And we could try smoothing it. Would that help at all? Let's try 0.001. It seems to want to jump up the same amount because it's a small amount that it's putting up there. We could try increasing the pelvis just a little bit. There we go. So I'm playing around with decreasing the pelvis, increasing the pelvis. The right upper leg is what is going to be. And every time you select a different vertex, you have to select the bone. Okay, and if you happen to like the weights of that one, you could go copy And if you hit the right arrow, depending on how the camera is situated, if it was like this, I could hit the up arrow. Let me hit the move tool so you can see I have that one selected. I could hit the up arrow, or if it was like this, I could have hit the left arrow on my keyboard to select that one. And then I could paste that weight. So select there, left arrow, paste. This one looks like a nice weight. I can copy that. Click over here, right arrow, paste. And maybe a little less influence of the pelvis. So I could do that. I could click there, double click there to select all of these. And I could very slowly select, like, see, that's way too big. So we know we want to increase the pelvis. So you can go in there and really select these. Let's decrease. So you can come in here and really play with these weights just a little bit. Do you get something that you like? Trying to get in here so I can see this. Sometimes it's hard. Here we go. And sometimes no matter what you do. Oh, did I pick the wrong one? No matter what you do, you're not going to be able to get rid of all of the poke through. So pelvis. Oops, I meant to do that to there, right? Yeah. And pelvis. And then I'm going to hit Q so I don't have that. I don't want to change these anymore, but I should still have those selected. And there we go. Okay. Left arrow, pelvis, like that. So you can really go in there and adjust these. Now when I zoom out, you saw that we started having poke through. That's going to tell you where the closest stuff is to the skin. you know, where the meshes are closest together. But if you get about here, if you don't see any poke through, there's not any real poke through. Now that's not to say that you won't see poke through in Second Life, because Jake may be one of the few exceptions that this mesh body that they give you is the actual mesh that's in Second Life. That the body is in Second Life, that's actually ideal. But a lot of mesh body designers are afraid that you're going to steal their mesh body and modify it and sell it as your own. So they don't give you the actual mesh body. They give you a mesh that has been smoothed and decimated, so that the vertex, so that the edge flow is not the same. It looks the same, but this edge right here might be over here, you know, in slightly different places, so that it may look perfect in Maya, but because it's actually being put on a different avatar that has slightly different edge flow, you might get poked through in different areas. That's completely normal. So yeah, so I was able to get rid of that, and then you want to see them, what they look like when they're reaching forward. You know, and you can see it does make a difference. Okay, now let's say you did something like this. Okay, I'm going to do the other leg. Okay, let's say you did something like this, where you had, let's turn on camera-based selection. Okay, let's say you did something like this. You had selected an area and you smoothed it, and now you got poked through. You're like, oh crap. You know, I got poked through now. It looks pretty good. You know, it's nice and smooth and evenly spaced, but you're like, oh crap, how do I get that back? Now, I already kind of showed you with the splits. It's the same exact process that we did with the splits. I know I'm just showing you this a second time. I forgot that I already showed you this. So you go to bind pose. You got to turn this back off of reference. And you select the body in object mode. You go to vertex mode. Hide the body. Hold down the control, shift. Select that area again. And, whoops. Darn it, I should have. But wait a minute. Okay, so you go to bind pose. Select the body, hide it. Vertex. Grab the area. Making sure you just get the area that you want. And so we should still have the body selected, yes. And you go minus star. You don't have to actually show the body, but I'm just double checking. Copy skin weights. And copy. And now it's back to being normal. Now, quite honestly, this would have been just fine. They're going to have an alpha anyway. I wouldn't even bother adding the edge loops that I added over here. Because they're going to be using an alpha no matter what. You know, unless you're wearing really baggy pants, you're most likely going to get some poke through back here. So they're just going to be wearing alpha anyway. Okay, so let me show you another area that you need to be. Okay, like here's the knee. The knee area definitely needs some more. I meant to do object mode. Okay, needs some more edge loops. So we go insert edge loop tool, and we have our thing turned on. And I just kind of put it right in the center there where the poke through is. I'd probably put another one in here. To make sure the knee gets some nice bend in it, because you're going to need extra. And this is how you make efficient mesh. This is how you make efficient mesh, is you just have the edge flows that you need where you really need them. Like I said, as you zoom out, you start to see a little bit down here and here, but as soon as you get about here and you don't see anything, it should be fine. But let's just add one more. And you see, it actually didn't make any difference. So you're still seeing them. So they're not needed. And you're not going to really see it either once you do that. So, okay. Okay, this crotch area. Let's go to vertex. You can do things like try smoothing it. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, we can open up max skin weights and try our decreasing the pelvis. Since the pelvis doesn't rotate, the more influence it has, the less these are going to move. And I might even take that one and decrease the pelvis just a little bit more. A little bit more, so now we got that looks smooth. You can see this has a slightly different edge flow than the other side. They're not mirrored image of each other. So this one looks fine. Okay. Like I said, if you need to smooth the bigger area, you just select the area and you do your BR smooth weights. Okay. Let's see. Trying to think. Do we add any geometry? Do we need to do any more where we duplicate the mesh and copy the weights off of the pants onto the duplicate pants? I don't think so. I think we're good. Okay. So let's go go to bind pose. Okay, if you were doing, like I said, a button, so you put a button here, always rig the most simple mesh that you can. So you want to rig simple mesh this before you add all the details. Like if you were going to add pockets or belt loops and that kind of stuff, you want to rig these pants first, because then you can just duplicate these, add those extra details, and copy the weights over. Be a lot easier. So that's what you want to do. So let's see. If you're going to add a button, let's do this. Let's create a sphere. pretend like this is a button. Okay, now you could either duplicate the mesh and then make this a part of one mesh. Well, let's do that. Okay. Okay, so you have your pants, right? That's on this layer. You would Control D to duplicate it. And you would remove selected object so it's not on this layer anymore. Create its own layer, and you could call this, you know, detailed pants. Okay, so these are the detailed pants. You could then say right. Okay, so I'm centering it to that vertex. And then I was holding down the V key so it snapped to point. So it snapped to point. Okay. Let's delete history. Freeze transformation. Not that it's really necessary. Okay. And okay, let's hide those other pants so that these are the unrigged pants. Okay, these are the button, that button. I would do a button this way. If I would cut off the back of it so you're not gonna, since you're not gonna see the button. You know, I would oh, wait a minute. Oh, because I had camera-based selection on. Oops, make sure I don't have that selected. Okay. Okay, and I can put this back to 0. And if I wanted to make this more efficient, I would probably delete the edge. Mesh tool. Delete edge vertex. You know, just so that it's not, you don't need that many vertices, you know, so this is more efficient. I could probably even get rid of this one in here. Okay, but anyway, so this is a button you made. Okay, you could do that. You could select your duplicate pants. You could combine. Now they're combined together. Then you could do star, all bones select, shift select your pants, smooth bind skin. Then we're going to open up the outliner, okay, and that's the sphere. I guess, oh, these are pants 3. Okay, and let's detail pants. Oh, why weren't the detail? Oh, they're not in the detailed pants. Add selected objects. Okay. So here we have the rigged pants that are rigged, and those are pants 1, and that's pants 3. Okay, and then these are the original pants. Yeah, okay. So we want the pants that we finished our rigging on. So we know which ones they are, pants 1, and this is pants 3. So you go all bones select, control, select your detailed pants, which is pants 3. Do a quick smooth bind skin. Wait a minute. It has an incoming skin cluster. When did that happen? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, let's. I'm losing track of things. Okay, let's. Okay, it says that I must have already did it, but let's go. Detach skin. Okay. All bones. Select. Control select those. Bind skin. And then we can grab the original pants that are rigged, that are the finished ones. That's this one. Correct? Yes. And then we control select the finished pants. And then we do copy skin weights. Okay. And let's open up the male avatar sliders. Now this is what we don't want to have happen. Okay, so it got fatter, the button got fatter. The button is supposed to be a solid piece of metal. So how do we fix that? Super easy, especially with max skin weights. Okay, so we go into vertex mode. We select the center of the button. It should show you the weights. Sometimes it does that. Let's see, do it again. There it is. Sometimes you have to close it and open it. Okay, you select the center of the button. You copy. You click copy. You can hit the grow button a whole bunch of times until it's nothing more is being selected. Right? You can see here, 101 vertices. It's not getting any bigger. And then just hit paste. Okay, now the button is not going to change shape. Now, it's kind of folding over as his belly gets bigger. Kind of like that. And there's really nothing you can do about that other than you can, let's see, if you hit, I think you can move these, we have the vertices selected. You can move it down a little bit. Why is it getting wider? Oh, because the scale is changing wider. As this is influencing it. Don't want it on the pelvis. Yeah, that's about as good as it's going to get. Let's see if we take away. No, you don't want to do that. It's not the pelvis that's changing, right? Ooh, yeah. Yeah. That's about as good as it's going to get. I think it's because the the belly, it's getting wider. It's changing the scale in this direction. So yeah, sometimes there's just nothing you can do. Because it has to move. You know, we could try rotating it slightly. Oh, that's when rotation is on. Discrete rotate. I'm surprised it ain't rotating. Why isn't it rotating? You should be able to rotate it. Huh. I'm surprised. I thought you should be able to rotate it, but it's acting like it's not going to rotate. You can move it, but you can't rotate it. Okay. Oh, because I didn't have all that. There, I thought you would be able to rotate it. You can rotate it. I just didn't have all the vertices selected. You can rotate it just a little bit. Okay. Whoops. That's the hover height. Default. Okay. The belly band. Yeah, because if you rig it to only one bone, what's going to happen is, well, it's not going to move with the rest of the mesh. So there is only so much you can do. So, okay. So now that we've had, you can add the details, you know how to kind of copy the weights over so they all move at the same, and all that kind of stuff. The next step would be to get ready to export. So let's go back to centimeter. You don't have to go down to centimeter scale, but I always like to. Oops. So of course, always remove unused influences. And it removes 67 influences. And now you're ready to export selection. And you would export it out as a DAE. As DAE. These are the options that I always use. If have animations turned on temporarily, turn off bind pose, turn off camera, lights. You can't turn off connections. And then after you do that, I always have it on meters. If you're doing it to the large avatar when she's big, and this is 1, 1, and 1, with the meshes says 1, 1, and 1, you might have to put this to centimeters. Z up. I always turn off the warnings. They don't give you any information anyway. You could tell it to triangulate if you want. Single matrix is fine. There's another place up here to triangulate as well. If you don't want your mesh to be triangulated, you could just turn them off because the upload window for Linden Lab will triangulate it automatically. But it might take another half a second for Linden Lab's viewer to triangulate it, or the upload process to triangulate it. But it's totally up to you. So that way, if you wanted to re-import it at a later date on, say, you could still import it and it won't be triangulated. So it'd still be nice and clean like it is here instead of being all these triangles. That's why I don't triangulate my mesh. So if I want to re-import it later, I can do that I can do that without having it be triangulated. And then after you turn those off, you make sure bake animations is turned off. I turn animations off. Awesome. Okay, so that's it for this video. It was an hour and 5 minutes. This is the second time I've made this video. Oh my god, I've worked all afternoon on it. So, but anyway, it went a lot smoother this time. And yeah, so that's how you rig pants. Awesome. So we'll see you in the next video.